Zero Endz. Welcome again to another wonderful session on Zero Endz channel. Book readings and all articles and other educational necessities. I am Zero Endz here. And what we're doing today is, as the title presents itself, and if you're not sure, I'll read to you again. The title for this particular stream podcast is The Book of Endz, Volume 1, Strong Black Woman and Mental Illness. This is part 4. And we are now winding down to the conclusion of this lengthy series. I'm hoping, for the purpose of this stream, is to not only educate, but to dispel the myth and to really look into, is strong black woman this notion that you're strong, you're black, you're a woman, hear me roar, that is it leading to your demise? Is it a form of mental illness, sickness in the head? What I have done in Rival for the past few streams is I've gone in great detail to really look into the information by one woman that is now a PhD in the field of, I think, clinical psychology or something. But like I said, as it winds down, I probably will leave the link for those to really read on the further studies. She got her PhD in this field, and she looked on herself of why a woman of or black woman or ADOS or any black woman in general will come to the West, we call America, and they get indoctrinated, not educated, but indoctrinated in the Western school system, and they come to their own understand that they are strong, they're black, and they're independent, and has not known that this is all a scheme. It was all a ploy to condition you to think that you are good and you could do bad by yourself and you do not need no man and everything is, good. But as you know, with the strong black woman syndrome, or I call the mental illness, in saying that you're strong and black, that it creates a lot of barriers, damage to your overall life. One of it is that you Any woman that the higher they go education, the more the chances are that they're going to potentially remain single and lonely, potentially. And the reason why I say this is because it is what I've witnessed and seen and heard for myself. I think one of the few things that the black world doesn't understand that all other groups of women don't proclaim themselves as strong, black, and independent like that because they know at the end of the day they need a man and need a system which is run and controlled by man to facilitate their livelihood, their survival. And as you know, America was not really designed to really feed and occupy single women long term. As you know, because of the economic situation we find ourselves now in the West and throughout globally, because of the situation we find ourselves with this ease or this virus, it has left a lot of women jobless, potentially now going to be homeless, and nowhere for a man to sit there help them get through the struggle or pay their bills or take care of their children. And as time progressed, a lot of women are now looking into the reality that what they have been taught or what they have heard or been learning about strong, black, independent was a myth. Actually, it was not a myth. It was a lie at the end of the day. So I'm going to take one moment to pull up, because now I'm going to pull the data, some data. This is from this particular PDF, and we are going to begin. So I give people one, or I give out a few seconds. So one moment. Okay, we can now begin. And let me do this. Okay, I've never shared this yet. Hang around with the studio. But we're going to look for yourself. Share screen. All right. Okay. I'll split this. Actually, that's good enough. I could read that. This is chapter 4. And we're going to look into the result part of things. Now, mind you, data is going to pretty much be changed now because we're now in a new decade. So what was left data-wise is going to probably mostly roughly increase after thorough research and data now, because data is always constantly updating. Because with research and any critical studies that look at what was left a couple years ago, see that affecting us today, and we compare the numbers. So let's look at this. This study investigates the relationships between the strong black woman persona, depression, and emotional eating. it was expected that women who embrace a higher level of SBW, strong black woman, ideology, were also likely to garner high scores when administering a measure of depression. The same women were also anticipated to be more likely to cope with their depression using food behavior reference to as emotional eating. Research question 1 asks, is there a relationship between SBW's ideology and depression in black women? Research question number 2 asks, is there a relationship between SBW's ideology and emotional eating in black women? Research question number 3, is there a relationship between depression and emotional eating in black women? The simple is described and demographic variables of the simple are present. First, descriptive statistics are presented. Next, finally, correlations resulting from each research question are presented. Samples. There were 66 black women in the research study. The demographics profile of the sample was the following. All of the women, 100%, self-identify as black women. The women also self-identify as African American with 2 exceptions. One who described herself as biracial black and one who self-identified as Caribbean American. Almost half of the women were married. 47%, but large segments were single. 23% or divorced. 20%, 6% were widows, and 4% had partners. Most of the sample of 83% had children. Now, I'm not sure when they said 83% had children. Could this be what we always been throughout the community as 8? Right now, we're looking at 8% out of wedlock birth rate. Is that the phenomenon? Is that what's going on? Let's keep going. The highest level of education item achieved diverse results table. Similar numbers of women report a high school diploma and associate degree or vocational training. Slightly more of the women have bachelor's degrees, advanced degrees, individual reports, a master, and 14%, or a doctorate, 5%, which is not really a lot. And I think right now it might have went up a little bit to now close to 7 to 8% of roughly since 2019 going to 2020. Let me see if I can. The highest level education item achieved diverse results. Similar numbers of women report a high school diploma and associate degree, a vocational training. Slightly more of the women had bachelor degrees, advanced degrees, individual reports, and master 14 and 5%, which I read already. This is a table. As you can tell from numbers, frequency and percentage. None, 1%. High school diploma, 12, 18%. Associate degree, 11, 17%. Vocational degree, 15%. Bachelor's degree, 21%. Master's degree, 14%. Doctorate degree, 5%. Refuse to respond, 9%. And I think this is just a clear analysis to under 100 women. Some mixed, some that came from 2 black parents, ADOS. And I'm not sure if this little frequency percentage was done by the categories of women that call themselves black, or they could be Caribbean or African blacks, not the ADOS, descendant of slave blacks. And I forgot to tell y'all, with vocational, bachelor's, master's, and doctorate, the number does go down. Vocational degree is 10, frequency of 10. Bachelor's degree is 14. Master's degree is 9. Doctorate 3. Refuse upon 6. So, as you know, throughout the percentage, there are some women with bachelor's degree, from what is shown right here. But we don't know what type of degree they got, which I think another brother from another podcast stream that he does says that, Matter of fact, I'm not going to go into it, but I'll say this from my perspective. I always focus what degrees the SBWs are getting, because not something in advanced degrees overall. Because if you look at the ones from the master's to doctorate, you always got to focus what women are getting the most. And there is some data on that, but that's not the purpose of this particular podcast / dissertation stream. Similarly, the range of reports household income also achieved diverse results. Table 2 participants' income level have 54% falling below the U.S. median. Household income of $50, actually my fault, 50,502, and 45% who were at all or above the U.S. median household income. U.S. Department of Commerce of 2013, that's roughly now 7 years ago. This data shows below 10 grand, and I think this goes by monthly. Frequency 7%, 10%. What we find out in 2020 or 2019, it's still roughly almost maybe 2% less. And so it's just treading roughly at 10% still, or close to 10% now. If y'all remember what was going on social media and YouTube of a particular woman that called on another brother's panel talking about she was looking for a man that made 6 figures. She made 6 figures for roughly 3 years. She only falls under this range. And that's not a great range for women, especially SBWs. It's not a lot. 10%, rarely. Rarely women that make 10%. And mind you, like I said, this data can be subjective because we don't know what if these women are actually having degrees that's making this. Keep that in mind. We go further. Women that's making 10K to almost roughly 20K in dollar amounts monthly. Frequency 2. Percentage 3%. That pie is very small. Women that make 20 to roughly 30K dollars a month. Frequency 11. Roughly 17%. And mind you, this does not base on education. Keep this in mind, people. Keep this in mind. When you look at data like this, if women that don't have a certain degree and what degrees they're getting and fields they're getting, they on the average, they might fall under this. On the average. And I mean average because we don't know. We go down 30 to 39K monthly. Frequency 9. Percentage 13%. We go down, making roughly 50K a month. Frequency 7, 11%. Next, SBWs making 50 to 59K a month. It goes from 5, frequency of 5, percentage 8%. 60 to 69K a month. Frequency is 8, roughly 12%. SBW is making 70 to 79%. Frequency of 6. Percentage 9%. And mind, these women that's now making almost close to $1 million. 80 or more. Frequency 10%. Frequency 10. Percentage 10%. 15%. Sorry. Refuse response 1 and 1%. So if we take out our calculator, and let me see if I can share this. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to try to see if I can share it. I want the calculator to be up present. when I'm okay. Okay. I think I figured something out. All right, this is good. Oh damn. Sorry guys, I'm trying to wow. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna shoot the entire stream because that were. Okay. Okay. Come on, guys. Okay, it's not sharing it. All right, so let me stop. I'm trying to figure out. This is ridiculous. All right, let's try this one more time. And this should work. All right. You know what? I'll just pull the calculator up anyway because it won't show. Let's do the numbers. Let's start up with the 10%. Let's say somebody makes 10K a month. And I think if I hit times 12 days a month, we're looking at 120 yearly. With taxes, you might bring in 110, maybe roughly 100K. So let's say a woman that's making, what's the highest percentage here? 29K. Times 12 days a month. They're roughly making 348K yearly. And this is the highest percentage, 20 to 29K a month. 17% is the biggest. And mind you, these numbers are subjective because we're not sure if these women are in high demand fields with a college education. I would say most of them that's making that money are doing things like IG modeling, maybe doing sex to accumulate that much money overall, average wise. Let's go down. What's the this is the highest. The third highest is 80K or more. So let's say 80K times 12. You look at almost $1 million, 960K yearly, and that's 15%. So from 17 to 10, and I'm not going to go any numbers because you get the point. So let me stop this. Okay, so you get the logist of things. What else is down here? Let's check. So that's pretty much it. Let's keep going down. In terms of physical characteristics of the average height of the sample was 5 feet 4 inches tall, with a range of 4 feet 9 inches and 6 feet tall. The average weight was 198 pounds with a range of 110 to 310 pounds. 99% indicate that they were never diagnosed with an eating disorder. Now, mind you, the average height today still remains roughly 5'3" or 5'4" inches tall, and some women as short as 4'9". And there are some women that, as a small percentage, that are 6 feet tall. But the average weight, this was years ago, 198 pounds. Now, today they said the average woman, SBW, strong black woman, they said she has lost maybe a few pounds, but still treading almost 200 pounds. That's too much weight. That's too much weight. And that alone will explain why a lot of women, when they're trying to get a mate or a man that's doing well, there's not no quality of women, black women, if they cannot keep their weight down. So the notion that black women are very heavy and fat, they're not lying. And the cause that because they feel they're strong, black, and independent, that also can result in obesity. To the women that say that, the women that keep push that notion or that whistle that they're strong, black, independent, you look at their ring finger and look at their body, and that explains it all. One moment, please. Okay, I'm back. Let's continue this. The scripture data as primary analysis describe statistics were generated on a study variable score of the SBW inventory range from a low of 65.92 to a high 83.32. And the emotional eating survey has scored that range from 29.94 through 68.78. Depression inventory scale ranges from 5.1 to 23.11. Inventory results from the sample delay a wide range of scores with the exception of scores from SBW inventory. The group SBW score were more closely clustered, thus indicating that groups has more commodities in the area of acceptance of SBW ideology. Table 3 reports that the mean, which is the capital M, the standard deviation, SDD, for the variable SBW, strong black woman, emotional eating, EE, and depression, DEP. And here's another table. And this is the mean for the standard deviation. It's what I said before. Strong black woman, NMSD. Results 66. The standard mean 74.62. Standard deviation 8.7. Emotional eating from a study of 66 people, 49.36% is the mean. Standard deviation 1942. And depression, same thing, 66 people study. Mean 14.6, Standard deviation, 9.5. So as you know, one of the few things of the downside of saying you're a SPW, you are prone to be a very much emotional eater, as you can tell from here. So that's the highest that might cause why you're very obese. Descriptive statistics were also generated on the SPW subscale, affecting regulation scores range from a low of 16.96 to a high of 25.79. Caretaking scores range from 20.64 to 29.58. Scores on the self-reliance subscale ranges from 24.86 to 31.48. And here's another table of the standard or the mean and standard deviation of strong Black women subscale. The affection, caretaking, and self-reliance. Same scale or of 66 people. You see the mean affection, 21.35, 4.39 in the SD scale. Caretaking, 25.11, SD scale, 4.47, and self-reliance, 28.17, standard deviation, 32.31. Going down, relationships, person, product, movement, correlation were executed to determine the relationship among the key variables of the dissertation research. Table 5 presents correlation matrix table. And this is the correlation matrix study variables and demographics. SPW, DEP, EEE, ED, age, and INC, which I'm not sure they give any details of. Some I think I can recognize, some I don't recognize much. But it shows here strong Black woman, 0.1, DP, 0.21, EE, 0.21, ED, 0.27, age, 15 or 0.15, INC, 0.15. And as you know, I'm not going to go over the rest of them. You can see for yourself. This is like a few years ago, but this is the data that the scholar compiled for her research and getting her doctorate degree. The correlations were also generated on 3 subscales and study variables. The result of these correlations are presented on table 7. Another scale, which you can see for yourself. And that's it there. Let's go down. The SPW and depression. The correlation results indicated there was no significant relationship isolating between the SPW persona and depression. The correlation between SPW R equals 0.21 and depression was very weak. SPW and emotional eating, there was no significant relationship found between the SPW persona and emotional eating behavior. The SPW was weakly correlated at R equals 0.21 with emotional eating. Depression and emotional eating. Depression was found to be positively significant correlating R equals 0.27 and P of I think is less than, or it could be greater than point. Actually, no, it's actually less than 0.5. While with emotional eating behaviors, however, the strength of the correlation was weak. Emotional eating and the SPW subscale emotional eating effects regulation were not found to have a significant relationship. The person correlation for those 2 subscale scores are insignificant. R equals 0.14, and the association between emotional eating and caretaking was very weakly positive, but no significant. And R equals 0.20, and the relationship between emotional eating and self-reliance was R equals 0.10 or 0.10, was not significant. Depression and the SPW subscale. Depression and caretaking had a very weak positive association with 0.20 that was not statistically significant. Depression and self-reliance were negatively associated, but the relationship was not significant. with 0.10. However, depression and affect regulation was found to have a significant positive correlation with R equals 0.28 through the strength of the correlation was weak. Other findings with the SBW person was found to have a significant but weak positive correlation with education, which is R equals 0.27, P is less than 0.5. Depression and income had a weak negative correlation, which is 0.25, P less than 0.5. Education and age were discovered to have a weak negative correlation, which is negative 30, P, which is less than 0.5. Finally, education and income were positively correlated. So they say finally, the education and income were positively correlated with this, which is 0.54 with less than 1. And that's the end of that chapter. Now, what conclusion can I draw from this? One thing I can say, there is some correlation. It's a very small scale, but like I said, when you're doing research, the goal is if you can get more than close to 300 to 500 people, you're doing some. I think under 100, you're getting like just a glimpse, and I say it's just a glimpse because 66 people that did commit to the study. It's very small. If you can get more, will be better. I find it that with the overweight and the marital weight does correlate. While a lot of black women are pretty much, that's the bigger they get, the less likely a man will really marry them. Now, mind you, black men are very much easygoing men to deal with any size woman. But that only correlates to his financials and what he's doing as a man. And if a man is very much doing very well, at the end of the day, if he's not married while he's in that struggle piece or in that building process, your chances as a woman getting him while he's still in this building stage are better off than get him when he's at the height. Because overall, most men, not just black men, but men in general, tend to marry and deal with women that are much more keeping themselves at shape, more agreeable, feminine, you know the rest. So I'm going to end it here. One more chapter. Chapter 5 will be closely, might be the conclusion of this, from what I'm checking now. I'm scrolling down. Just going to double checking now. Yeah. It looks like chapter 5 might be the last one. Yeah, it is. So for those that are new to Zero Endz channel, thank you. For the ones that will catch the replay, thank you. Please leave a comment. Well, actually, like this video, share it, and leave a comment on your thoughts and opinions. There will be descriptions of this whole entire study once it concludes. Like I said, the purpose of this is for the information part of really going into this myth of a strong black woman or women that consider themselves that are strong, black, independent, is it considered mental illness? And throughout the many chapters and the many streams, it has go into this rabbit hole to reveal that it does correlate to some form of illness. As a woman that feel you don't need a man, you don't want a man, but want the service and providers of the state, which is controlled by men, to provide your necessities and your livelihood. And I'm telling you right now, ladies, those days are very much winding down as we are approaching a more society that's going to eventually collapse. And need to go more in more detail. I'm not going to, but you'll see. Thank y'all for listening. This is Zero, and I'll catch you on the next stream.